Welcome or welcome back to the HIVE MINDS Podcast, where we talk about everything Baldurs Gate 3. And today's episode is about everything God related, everything Pantheon, all of the gods in Baldur's Gate 3. If we would have talked about all of the gods, we would have never stopped talking because there's so much information about all these gods. We thought we would make like a nice, concise little snack version for you guys to enjoy the lore and learn a little bit about these gods. And today we are going to go over all the available cleric gods, and then we're gonna go a little bit in depth about some of the more important gods, and then we're gonna go really in depth on the Dead 3, because they seem to be very important in the game, and I think also in the previous games, but don't quote me on that, I haven't played them. Make sure that you subscribe, because we are uploading this podcast every month, and there's, you don't want to miss it, and there's always a lot of amazing lore for you guys to learn. But let's go ahead and jump right in, because this might be a long run. We'll see.
All right, so I'm gonna start with the first god for cleric deities that's listed on the wiki page that we're looking at, and the first one is Bane. And it says that Bane is a dark paragon of hate, fear, and tyranny. He ascended to godhood alongside Baal and Merkle, but loathes them both for taking the power he believes is rightfully his.
And then I shall move on to the next. Baal. Baal is a notorious god of murder, reborn after each of his descendants were viciously slain. He has a tenuous alliance with Merkle and Bane, the three having attained divinity in a bargain against the fallen god Jurgle.
I will butcher the next god. Corellian Laurenthian is the creator of the elves. I can't say that word. Laurenthian oversees the elven pantheon as a whole, providing blessings to those who study art, magic, and nature, and they are a good god.
Next is Alistrae, and she's the goddess of good-aligned drow, beauty, song, and freedom. The Dark Maiden desires balance between all races and struggles against her mother Lolth's corrupt aims.
The next on the list is Garl Glittergold. The watchful protector is the king of gnomish gods, a deity of humor, gem-cutting, protection, and trickery.
The next god is Helm. The Watcher is an eternal sentry among the gods, representing guardians across the planes. After more than a century of fading worship, Helm's power was restored with the Second Sundering.
The next god is Ilmater. It's the crying god who protects the oppressed and persecuted. His clergy is sworn to alleviate suffering, even if that means taking on that pain personally. He's one of my favorite cleric deity gods. I use him for life clerics normally, but a couple extra things about him are that his symbol is two hands tied together by a red cord, because he doesn't have a weapon, because, he is a god who protects the innocent and, is kind of pacifistic about a few things, so his symbol is just some hands. And the two main domains for him are life and twilight clerics.
The next god on the list is Celeborn. The fair but distant Celeborn guides the dead to their appropriate plane in the afterlife. His clergy provides the last rites across Faerun, but also destroy undead that have escaped Celeborn's judgment.
Then we go on to Ladugua. The exile is the tyrannical patron of the Duergar. His clerics are the unquestioned rulers of Duergar society, enforcing cold and callous behavior among his worshippers.
Next is Lolth, and she's the much reviled matriarch of the Drow pantheon. She holds sway over spiders, the Underdark, and the infernal creatures of the Demon-Wed pits. Her primary goal is to corrupt all Drow, transforming them into heartless cultists.
The next god on the list is Moradin. The Allhammer is the dwarven god, worshipped by smiths, artisans, and minors alike. He and Laudiger are constantly at odds.
Then we go on to Myrkul, a member of the Dead Three with Ball and Bane. Myrkul is a cruel necromancer turned god, inspiring the fear of death in mortals. He often clashes with Kelemvor, the even-handed judge of fallen souls.
Next is Mistra, and as the mother of all magic, Mistra oversees the weave and spreads arcane knowledge to mortal spellcasters. Her clerics preserve ancient lore and protect bastions of magical energy.
Next on the list is Ogma, who is the god of inspiration and invention, sharing knowledge with the world through his bards and clerics. And unlike other deities, Ogma accepts all morally grey alignments into his clergy.
Next is Seluna. The Lady of Silver presides over the moon, stars, and navigation. Her power over the heavens is constantly challenged by her sister Shah, who seeks to plunge the world into eternal shadow.
The next goddess actually is Shar, and as the greater deity of darkness, Shar is feared for her power over the night, secrets, and loss. She is locked in an internal conflict with her twin sister Seluna, goddess of the moon.
Next, we have Tempest, who is the lord of battles, overseeing war and its soldiers. He is the embodiment of honorable combat and condemns needless bloodlust.
Then we have the god Tyr. The blind god rules over law and justice, encouraging valiant acts from his followers and relentlessly pursuing outbreakers.
Next is Vlaakith, and she's the Lich Queen, who is the sole respected leader of the Githyanki. She encourages their worship and unquestioning devotion, essentially acting as their deity.
Up next is Yondala, as the mother of the halfling pantheon. Yondala is known for her kindness and is open-minded, encourages her followers to protect the home, hearth, and nature.
Then we go on to Talos. While, Mieliki values the quiet that nature brings, Talos represents how uncaring and destructive it can be. His followers have a philosophy that regards life as a series of chaotic events, with random chance and luck dictating what happens.
And then next is Maliki, and goddess is specifically a goddess of the beautiful silence in natures, described as remote and spiritual in Baldurs Gate 3 itself. She has the ability to turn trees into treants with a mere touch.
Next is Tymora, a deity who values those who take risks. She blesses those with skill and the willingness to gamble their time, possessions, and lives, both on frivolous and important pursuits.
Then the last god is Lathander, also known as the Morning Lord, is a neutral good greater deity of spring, dawn, birth, renewal, beginnings, hidden potential, conception, vitality, youth, and self-perfection. And with that, we are done with all the cleric gods that are available in Baldur's Gate 3, but we have some honorable mentions as well. The first one was already mentioned on the list, but we thought we would get some more information because we actually run into some paladins of Tyr. And Tyr is the god of justice, law, and honor, and is lawfully good aligned. Tyr is known as the god of justice. He is one of the most important gods in the game's pantheon of, Dungeons and Dragons, and his teachings and values are highly regarded by many players and characters. Tyr is depicted as a just and honorable god who values truth and fair play above all else. He is often portrayed as a champion of the downtrodden and oppressed, and is invoked by those seeking justice and protection. His followers are often paladins, clerics, and other characters who value justice and righteousness. In terms of alignment, Tyr is typically depicted as a lawful good, meaning that he values order and justice and is willing to use force to protect the innocent and punish wrongdoers. He is also associated with the domains of war and courage, as he believes that sometimes force is necessary to protect the innocent and uphold justice. As a cleric of Tyr, players have access to spells and abilities associated with the domains of justice, war, and courage. They can call upon their god to imbue them with righteous power, making them more effective in combat and more capable of defending the innocent. They can also use their abilities to detect lies and deceit, and to punish those who break the law. One of the most interesting aspects of Tyr in his role in the D&D universe, he is often portrayed as a foil to other gods who value power and conquest over justice and righteousness. His teachings and values are counterbalance to the darker aspects of the game's pantheon, and his followers often act as the moral compass of the game. Tyr is an important and powerful god in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. He is known as the god of justice, and his teachings and values are highly regarded by players and characters alike.
Okay. Next, I have an honorable mention who used to be a divine, but is currently no longer, and that would be Zariel. She is considered to be lawful evil, as she is a general in the first level of hell, but at the same time, she's also a hero. And she's a hero for her hatred of stagnation, as a passionate vanguard against evil forces who would battle in the Blood War, which she was tasked with documenting. Zariel first began her act of defiance against the gods by going and trying to talk to other angels and celestials on Mount Celestia, where the gods reside. And she tried to tell them to stop the Blood War because of its massive destruction, and all she got in return was being told that it would probably take all of the bastions of the upper planes and every mortal hero to completely stop the Blood War as it stood. So she was getting nowhere, and decided that she would create the Hell Riders, and she took all of these people with her into the Hells and began to fight both the demons side and the devil side of the Blood War, trying to stop it outright. But as she did this, at least half of the people that she brought with her from the Hell Riders decided that they didn't like which way the wind was blowing, and they left. And they cut off the path to escape from hell for everybody but themselves. And as a result, Zariel and the remaining Hell Riders were captured. We get to meet one of these Hell Riders who decided to abandon Zariel at the Grove in Zevlor. He was an ex-Hell Rider, and he's trying to protect a group of refugees from the city of Elturel, which was brought into the Hells by Zariel. After Zariel and the remaining Hell Riders were captured, she was brought to Asmodeus, the head archdevil of the Hells, who gave her a deal that she would fight for him as a general on the side of the devils in order to fight and stop the Blood Wars. And for Zariel, it didn't matter who won the war, only so long as one side did, and that would force heaven to fight whichever side eventually ended to win.
Okay, another honorable mention is Jurgle, because in the game we get to go into a crypt, and if you find out how to open the door, you can actually go and find a tomb, or well, kind of like a burial area with like a oh god, what is it called again? Statue. There we go. With a statue of Jurgle, and we can find a talking skeleton behind that statue in a hidden burial tome thing. And there are some theories that our friend with us there might be Jurgle. I'm just gonna put that here because there is a big might be here. There's a lot of speculation. There's not that much evidence, so we don't know. But because of that, we wanted to include Jurgle into this episode and give more information about the god. So Jurgle is known as the Lord of the End of Everything, the Final Fire, and the Last Emperor of the World Below. Jurgle was a god of entropy and destruction, and his followers believe that everything in the universe is destined to come to an end eventually. He has taken a step back from his godly duties and served the Dead Three until they became comfortable in their positions. Jurgle's origins are somewhat murky, but he is believed to have once been a mortal who ascended to godhood through the sheer force of his will. Some legends suggest that he was once a powerful wizard who sought to become immortal, and his quest for immortality ultimately led him to the realization that everything must come to an end eventually. Others say that he was a warrior king who led his people through a great cataclysm, and that he is ultimately became the god of the apocalypse. Regardless of his origins, Jurgle is a fearsome deity who inspires both awe and terror in his followers. He is often depicted as a towering figure, wreathed in flames, his eyes burning with a fierce intensity that seems to strip away all pretense and reveal the true nature of the universe. His followers believe that Jurgle's flames will one day consume everything in existence, leaving nothing behind but a barren wasteland of ash and cinders. Despite his terrifying reputation, Jurgle is not necessarily an evil deity. While he does represent the destructive force of entropy, he also represents the natural cycle of life and death. His followers believe that Jurgle's flames are necessary to cleanse the world of corruption and decay, and that only by embracing the inevitable end of all things can one truly live life to the fullest. Jurgle's followers are a device lot, ranging from, and I'm gonna very butcher this word,
Nihilistic.
Nihilistic, thank you. Nihilistic cultists who seek to hasten the end of the world, to stoic monks who meditate on the nature of death and decay. Some of his worshippers are warriors who see themselves as the harbingers of Jurgle's final fire, while others are healers who seek to ease the suffering of those who are dying. In terms of his role in the D&D 5th edition game world, Jurgle's often invoked by characters who are facing great trials or who are confronting the end of their lives. He is also sometimes called upon by characters who seek to destroy powerful artifacts or to bring an end to a great evil. While his worship is not widely accepted or condoned in most societies, there are those who see the wisdom in Jurgle's philosophy and who seek to live their lives in accordance with his teachings. In conclusion, Jurgle is a complex and fascinating deity who represents the ultimate end of all things. While his worship is not for the faint of heart, those who embrace his philosophy believe that it offers a path to true enlightenment and fulfillment. Whether you see Jurgle as a force of destruction or a necessary aspect of the natural work, there is no denying the power of significance of this important god in the D&D 5th edition pantheon.
Next, we have Selûne. Selûne is the Lady of Silver, who presides over the moon, stars, and navigation. Her power over the heavens is constantly challenged by her sister Shar, who seeks to plunge the world into eternal shadow. She is also represented by the moon. Selûne was born near the beginning of the creation of realm space along with Shar. Both goddesses are directly opposed, light and dark, good and evil. The pair is also so close that they often felt like one being. Thus, they were sometimes called the two-faced goddess. Alongside Shar and Selûne, they created the world of Toril, which the game takes place in. Shortly after Toril was created, a new goddess was born named Shayante, who wanted to populate life on the planet. To do that, she needed to gain power from the two goddesses. Shar didn't want to share her power, but Selûne did, and she granted her powers from the fire plane, which unfortunately wounded and burned Selûne. This enraged Shar, who then attacked Selûne and took hold of her divine essence. At that moment, the divine essences of both Shar and Selûne merged, and Mystra was born, the goddess of magic. Selûne has been permanently damaged by what she did when she made Toril, as she gave more of herself than her sister Shar did, which is why she waxes and wanes in power like the moon. Selûne is also the only goddess to choose to live among the mortals, and she sealed her powers and became a woman named Luna, who lived in Waterdeep and ran a tavern called Selûne's Smile. When the time of troubles occurred, she was mostly unaware until she ran into other avatars of the gods, as at the time she had sealed away her powers. During this time, Shar pretended to be the avatar of Selûne and tricked many people in being devoted to her.
Then we have Shar, as already mentioned. Shar, also known as the Mistress of the Night. Shar is one of the most powerful deities in the Forgotten Realms, and her influence can be felt throughout the lands. Shar is the goddess of darkness, night, and loss. She is known for her malevolent nature and her desire to bring about the end of all things. Shar is often depicted as a woman with skin as black as midnight, and her eyes glow with an eerie red light. Shar was the Faerunian goddess of darkness and night, the malevolent twin counterpart to Selûne. She was also the creator of the Shadow Weave, a dark counterpart and attack upon the weave of Mistral and her successors. Her domain included dark places, deeds done under darkness, secrets, loss, hidden pain, and the ability to forget. Shar was the Nightbringer, the living embodiment of the void, the perfect nothing that existed before she was born. She was deeply twisted and perverse, a being of ceaseless petty hate and envy. She plotted from the shadows to undermine all creation, reveling in the hidden and never to be revealed. She purported to be a healer, but was in truth a sadist and enjoyed inflicting the pain of loss on her worshippers. She did not truly believe in healing grief, but in harnessing it, nurturing spite, nursing indignity, and reinforcing regret until minor slights became transgressions worthy of bitter vengeance. Shar's realm was originally on the plane of shadow and was a tower that had no obvious entrances, called the Tower of Loss. When she created the Shadowfell, Shar abandoned the Tower of Loss and created a new realm in the Astral Sea, larger than any of the others there. Among the dark scenery, with its black sand and shadowy natural features, lay the Tower of Night, Shar's new abode, a more palatial one than her old home, was built atop the tallest mountain of this realm. Access to the Shadowfell was easy from here, and she shared the realm with Talona, Seth, and Zahir. The ancient myth of the creation of the world and the heathens stated that after the universe and its crystal sphere was created by Lord Au, there was only a primordial essence, the protoplasmic raw stuff of existence. Shah and Selûne, two beautiful, identical but polar opposite goddesses, coalesced from the this is not easy for me to read. Primordial essence, and formed the two-faced goddess and the sisters who were one, as we already heard. Together, they created from the cosmic either a Beatoril and the other heavenly bodies and infused these worlds with life. Shantea, the embodiment of all matter in realm space, asked the two-faced goddess for warmth, but Shar and Selûne were divided on wherever to let there be more life on the worlds or not. The two goddesses, Selûne and Shah, fought over the fate of their creations, creating the original deities of magic, war, disease, murder, death, and others. Selûne ignited a heavenly body to give warmth to Shantea, but Shah enraged her and began to blot out all light and warmth. Mistral, the original goddess of magic, balanced the conflict and mediated an uneasy truce. Shah was cast into her darkness for centuries, enabling light and warmth to bathe Beltoril and the other worlds. The war between the sisters would continue forevermore, but life struggled and flourished on the worlds, watched over by Shantea. When the primordials began to attack the newly born worlds of realm space, Shah and Selûne set aside their differences temporarily and moved to defend those worlds against the threat. Other gods were born from the conflict or were summoned from other universes to aid the native gods in their struggles against the primordials and their servants. This conflict later was known as the Dawn War. The time of troubles of the Year of Shadows in 1350 ADR saw the avatar of Shah come to the city of Waterdeep in the disguise of her sister Selûne. When Luna, the true avatar of Selûne, and Valmeria approached, she called them unbelievers and used a sync spell to trap her. Shah then used the wand of the 4 moons to knock Luna out. Luna was kept as a special guest for 12 days and was reinvented as a faithful servant of Selûne. A party was held at Castle Waterdeep in honor of the supposed avatar, but a trio of the Dark Army of the Night attempted to kidnap the avatar. Shah freed herself and caught them within a bind spell before they were arrested by the city guards. Kiriani confronted Shah and fought back with her telekinesis, but Lord Purigion invented and revealed the avatar's reckless temper. Luna's friends, Timoth, Eyebringer, and Onyx, the Invincible, inflated the temple and eavesdropped on the false avatar speaking with Naneatha. Oh my god, all these names. Viana and Kiriana came to their rescue and unmasked Luna. Naneatha defiantly shoved Shah off the temple balcony, but both were saved by Shah's Featherfall spell. Shah was determined to revenge herself on the heroes for ruining her scheme to break Selûne's spirit and slay her. Kiriani held off Shah while Tiamoth, Virania, and Onyx struggled to open the dimensional doorway to Luna's inner room. Luna transformed into Selûne and blasted away Shah's darkness and Rod of Oblivion, reminding her of the balance they must uphold. Shah was revitalized in the wake of the Gods' War and began actively subverting Selûne and Mystra. She made allies of Bane and Cyric and attempted to conquer Mithdrana. 11 years later, Mystra was dead, and Shah combined the planes of Shadow with a negative energy plane to create the Shadowfell. Mask secreted a potion of his divinity to Erevis Kale using the Black Chalice, but it was absorbed by Erevis, Revelian Tanthrol, and Drasek Riven. Shah is a complex deity, and her followers believe that darkness and loss are a natural part of life. They believe that by embracing these qualities, they can achieve enlightenment and a deeper understanding of the world around them. Shah's followers often use secrecy and deception to achieve their goals. They are known for their ability to blend in with their surroundings and move silently, making them excellent spies and assassins. One of the most famous followers of Shah was the assassin Artemis Enterary. He was known for his incredible speed and agility, and his ability to kill with deadly precision. Despite his ruthless nature, Enterary was a complex character who struggled with his loyalty to Shah and his own desires for power. Shah's influence can be seen throughout the Forgotten Realms, particularly in the city of Waterdeep. The City of Splendors is known for its nightlife, and many of its citizens worship Shah. The city is also home to the Temple of the Night, which is dedicated to Shah and her followers. Despite her malevolent nature, Shah is a powerful deity who commands the respect and fear of many in the Forgotten Realms. Her influence can be felt in every corner of the world, and her followers will stop at nothing to achieve their goals.
No, sorry, I was coughing.
Oh, good.
But okay, so now it's my turn to talk, and I'm gonna talk about Mystra first. Y'all can hear me, right? Because
Yes.
my Discord is acting kind of weird. Okay.
You're clear.
Do you want me to do Mystra and then Sylvanas, and then we do Leviatar and
yeah, we can.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Mystra, and the first thing I'm going to say is that she is the second goddess of magic. Mistral was the first, and she sacrificed herself to, like, do some big stuff that we're not going to worry about right now, because otherwise we'll be here forever. Not much is known about Mystra before she became a goddess. We just kind of know that she was some really pretty peasant girl who studied magic, and then she became a goddess. Mystra is said to be the manifestation of cosmic balance, which means that basically she makes sure that everything in the world of magic stays balanced, which gives her a more lawful, neutral alignment as opposed to anything else. Basically, to her, the balance of magic is more important than good prevailing over evil or evil prevailing over good. She is more concerned that everything stays balanced in the way it's supposed to. One thing that I thought she did that was kind of interesting was when she became, goddess of magic, she imposed, like, all of the rules we know about magic, in the sense that, like, you can't cast anything above 10th level. She limited who had access to magic, so not everybody could cast it. You had to study it, or you had to be born with it. She limited the number of spells you could learn, increased the time it took to cast some spells, and forced recovery of previously cast spells. 9th level limit, thanks. But basically you can't cast anything 10th level and higher. You could only cast up to 9th level. That's what I meant. Sorry for being vague, but I thought that was really interesting. She, on the other hand, could cast, like, every spell at every level. There were some that, like, she could only cast that spell at a time, like Wish or something like that, but for the most part, she could just cast any spell at any level whenever she wanted, because, goddess of magic or something. Or something. She, unlike a lot of the gods, she had several chosen... Sorry, the dog is breathing on me. 1 second.
That's fine. Okay.
So one thing that's interesting about Mistra is that compared to a lot of other gods, especially evil aligned gods and other neutral aligned gods, she had several mortals chosen and helpers over the centuries because, you know, she believed that mortals could actually be helpful. And then towards the end of like her reign as a goddess, I don't know how else to phrase that, she was definitely getting really, really bitter because a lot of people devoted themselves to her to get something out of it, to get more power, to get this, not just because they like respected her and had a love and like devotion to magic. They had a love and devotion to power, and she wasn't really a big fan of that. But she did have like followers who followed her for reasons other than personal gain, and that really like gave her a lot of hope and helped her, you know, keep it together. And then next that I'm going to talk about is just basically the little bit of the history of the end of her life, because that's the most exciting, I guess, is the best way to put it. But she died after the times of trouble started. What she did is put some of her power, some of her being essence into an amulet and gave it to a wizard named Midnight, and just was like, keep this safe, buddy, and then, you know, left him to it. And after being cast down here with everything that happened in the times of trouble, she eventually took the amulet back from Midnight and tried to escape back to the ethereal plane via the celestial stairway, which was guarded by Helm, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. Did a dog just bark, or am I going insane?
I heard it too, but it's okay.
Okay, just making sure. Sorry, I get distracted really easily.
That's fine. Me too.
But basically, so she tried to escape back to the ethereal plane with the celestial stairway after all the gods got cast down to the mortal plane, and Helm wasn't having any of that, even though she said that she had nothing to do with what caused the times of trouble, so the tablets of fate being stolen. And she was like, just let me go talk to Lord Eo, and everything will be fine. And Helm was like, absolutely not. And so she tried to attack him, and he just obliterated her, basically. Like the mortal that she was using as an avatar just exploded as Helm killed her. And then after she died, Midnight, who was that wizard she gave her amulet to that had her power in it, took over after her as like the next god of magic, but like kept the name Mistra, so that way it would be like a smoother transition. And then the next god that I'm going to talk about is Sylvanas. And I don't have as much on him because he, you know, is a little bit more, he keeps to himself a little bit more. So he is the god of wild nature, which is a sort of a foil to Shantaea, who represented ordered nature. He's true neutral aligned because he's, you know, wild and unpredictable, much like nature is, but a big part of it is that he doesn't care about the balance between civilization and nature, or like nature and mortal and the other gods and things like that. What he cares about is the balance of nature, life and death, cycle of life sort of thing. So he cares about balance, but not in between things that aren't nature and nature. And he pretty much has total control over nature. He, his symbol is an oak leaf, which we see on the druids. Like all of them have a crest of an oak leaf and an acorn on them, which shows that they're druids of Sylvanas, and he is referred to as the Oak Father because of that. He has the ability to control, you know, like all of nature and animals and plants and stuff like that because, god of nature. He has 2 forms. He has a third one that like people don't see as often, but the 2 main forms he has are the Old Father and the Young Strider. The Old Father looks like, an old bearded man in true fashion like that. And the Young Strider is a long-limbed humanoid male. And they each had different things that they did. Old Father tended to work mostly with animals, plants, and the weather, as opposed to the Young Strider doing more like just weather spells when he appeared. Sylvanas wasn't really known for having really any allies or enemies. He had gods that he worked better with, and some that he didn't like, just because some gods really liked destruction, and since he's into the balance of nature and everything, that kind of goes against what he stands for there. And yeah, that's all I have on him.
Okay. Do we want to continue with Lovieta or with Lolth?
I think I will go with Lolth first.
Okay.
So then we can continue on with our Liss MizuMing.
Okay.
Alright. Like Sylvanas, Lolth has a shorter amount of information on her. Some of it was read originally when we were going through the list. So Lolth was originally a lesser deity named Arashane, and she was the goddess of destiny and artisan. And she was also married to Corleron, the god of the elves. At some point, she tried to overthrow Corleron, and after the failed attempt, she was thrown into the abyss. There, she conquered a large part of it and became the new ruler of the demon web pits. At that time, she also took the dark elves with her. And at a later point, she delved back into the web pits and she fought with a large demon lord spider called Zanasu, and he held dominion over spiders, and she wanted to have the dominion of spiders. So what she did was she fought him with trickery in order to get his abilities and title. What she did was she sent her grandson Feseliventram to go and fight this demon lord. And eventually when he won, she just took the responsibility from him in order to gain her ability to have sway over spiders and the Underdark and everything. One thing that she would do on occasion is when new drow were born, they would be presented to her, and if she found any weakness within them, she would slaughter them.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I am going to talk about the goddess Lovieta. I have a little bit about her, so let's see. But yeah, Lovieta is primarily associated with the domain of pain, and as well as the domains of evil and trickery. In terms of alignment, Lovieta is typically depicted as chaotic evil, meaning that she values her own interests above all else and is willing to use any means necessarily to achieve her goals. She is known for taking pleasure in causing pain and suffering, both to herself and to others. Leviatha is a deity associated with pain, evil, and trickery, and is often depicted as a cruel and sadistic goddess who takes pleasure in inflicting pain on others. Her followers are those who embrace suffering as a means of achieving enlightenment, and those who seek to cause pain and suffering to others. Leviatha is also known as the Maiden of Pain, and her worshippers often mark their bodies with scars and tattoos to honor her. She is associated with the color red and with instruments of torture such as whips, chains, and hooks. Her symbol is a nine-stranded whip with barbed strands, and we can see that one on our friend, the torturer in the goblin cave, Abdurak. Leviatha was an aggressive and domineering despot who enjoyed acts of sadism. She had an instinct for inflicting pain and was nearly impervious to any emotion. Attempts to harm her prompted only laughter, and more than one mortal was startled to see her advance towards them with the intention of receiving any damage. Leviatha's only psychological weakness was her own calculating nature, believing humanity was innately selfish. Truly heroic, of self-sacrificing behavior would untangle her plots. Leviatha was a servant of Baal and had a heated rivalry with her fellow servant Talona. In the year of the Harpist's delight, demigoddess Kipu Tito was slain by Talona, making Leviatha and Talona rivals. Leviatha was also affiliated with Mala and fell under the sway of Shah. Leviatha's portfolio conflicted with that of Ilmanta, as she despised those who helped others and hated Eldath and Lilira for offering rewards without suffering to achieve them. She is selfish and willing to use any means necessary to achieve her goals, including causing harm to innocent people. Her followers are often members of evil organizations such as cults and criminal syndicates. One of the most interesting aspects of Leviatha is the role she plays in the D&D universe. While she is a cruel and sadistic goddess, she is also a powerful force for change and transformation. Her worshippers believe that pain is necessary for growth and self-improvement, and they embrace suffering as a means of achieving enlightenment. Leviathans were skilled at bringing pain and suffering, but the ability to fully understand someone was the best skill. They were encouraged to wipe Ilmanta's followers from the face of the realms and to celebrate each season with a rite of pain and purity, which involved dancing on glass thorns of barbed wire while being whipped by higher-level Leviathans. Priestesses of Leviatha scourged their naked shoulders to tore their cheeks with their nails to evoke magic. Then some. I thought this was pretty interesting. But here are some titles used by the priests and by novices. So titles used by novices are kneeling ones. Confirmed priests use the titles in ascending order. Tystran, adept in pain. Sister brother in torment. Suprema, caresser of terrors. Whiplash, whiplaw. Pain giver. Whip mistress, whipmaster. High whipmistress or whipmaster. Branded of the god. Entruska. And all of these scream to me 50 Shades of Leviatha. Just gotta say that. Very beautiful words. Love that. Priests were referred to as Levites before the use of Leviathan replaced it. Specialty priests called Pains operate as a separate arm of the faith and travel from place to place carrying out the goddess' will. Ordinary clerics of Leviatha hold the Pains in high regards. Mystics often are assigned to groups of Pains and monks, while living only with monks and monasteries. The faith of Leviatha was the state religion in the country of Dambrath, and the Sinti priestesses there had their own secret religious language known as the Maiden's Tongue. The Sinti considered copying the idea of a trade enclave from the Red Wizards of Thai, combining a trade center and a place for the faithful to Leviatha to worship. As a cleric of Leviatha, you would have access to spells and abilities associated with the pain, evil, and trickery domains, as well as unique abilities associated with Leviatha herself. Some of these abilities include the ability to inflict pain and suffering on others, the ability to heal yourself through pain, and the ability to gain power through self-harm, which that is trigger warning. In conclusion, Leviatha is a fascinating and terrifying goddess in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Her followers embrace pain and suffering as a means of achieving enlightenment, and they seek to inflict pain on others in order to further their own goals. As a cleric of Leviatha, you would have access to powerful spells and abilities, but you would also be beholden to a goddess who values cruelty and sadism above all else. And with that, I think we're done with all the, gods we wanted to cover before talking about the Dead Three, which we think, or they are talked about quite a bit, their symbolism, and they are probably very important in the game. So we thought we would talk about them even more in depth.
Oh, I go first, right? Sorry.
Yeah. All good.
I was like, wow, man, who's gonna start talking? It's me. I have to start talking. Okay, so I will start with Bane, who is the god of tyrannical oppression, terror, and hate. And his goal is to achieve total domination of, like, all of Faerun and also, like, literally everywhere. You know, he's, dream big, something like that. His alignment is lawful evil and the best, despite wanting to take over the whole world. I think the best way to say, explain that he's lawful evil is that he's willing to work with others more than a lot of the chaotic evil gods. But he also still doesn't think he's subservient to anyone, which, is how that works. The people, unsurprisingly, he worked mostly with the other two of the Dead Three, but he also had some servants. I'll just kind of go through, a whole little history of him, from when he started out as a human up until, spoiler alert, after he dies. Unless you want me to say something different, Mizu, you started saying something.
No, I chuckled.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Started out as a human, as lots of gods did. He forged an alliance with Baal and Merkel. They made a pact to, control everything and become gods themselves. They called themselves the Dead Three. And they gained a lot of power very quickly and very easily, mostly through Jurgle helping them because he didn't want to be a god anymore. I'm so sorry. My phone is right next to my microphone and it buzzed.
That's fine.
Let me move that. But, eventually they grew powerful enough to confront Jurgle, who, as I'm pretty sure Lena said earlier, convinced them. I might be completely wrong, and I might be thinking about the conversation we had before we started recording. Anyway, Jurgle convinced Bane and the others to turn on each other, and split his power over a game of Knucklebones, which Bane won. And so he claimed governance over Strife because he thought it would allow him to rule over all of Toril. And so, that's that. And then, it really, becoming the god over Strife didn't actually work out the way he thought it would, because he had to, contend with the other two of the Dead Three who also became powerful gods. But also, every other god was not cool with him taking over the whole world. So, a little bit of trouble there. At some point in time, he sired a son who, I'm just apologizing in advance. I tried to find a pronunciation of this name and I couldn't, but it's Yaktu Zvim. It's IYACHTU and then XVIM. So
Yeah, that's
half
hard to
demon.
pronounce.
Yeah, I tried. Half demon, son of Bane. So Times of Trouble, we've mentioned it a few times, but it basically started because Bane and Merkel attempted to steal the Tablets of Fate, which, you know, not the best thing. They thought it was like part of what gave Ao the main god his powers. And then when he found out that the tablets had been stolen, he called everybody together. Nobody fessed up to stealing them, so he just banished all the gods to the material plane, Bane included. Bane obviously was really unhappy about losing his godhood and being not losing his godhood, but like basically being forced into a mortal shell on the material plane and being cast out. And he died pretty soon into the Time of Troubles. He was killed by Torm, who is just another one, who was a younger god. And when he died, his power, most of it went to Cyric, but some of it went to his son, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce again, I'm sorry, as well. Sorry, coughing.
All good.
Oh wait, no, sorry, I was coughing, I'm still going. So Bane died, but he didn't stay dead because, you know, why would he? He did actually anticipated that he was going to die, and so he basically created a scion for the purpose of his regeneration and rebirth and resurrection, aka his son. So, he was resurrected, and basically that just killed his son, and he took his son's place and was brought back to power. One thing that I thought was kind of cool, is some people thought that was the work of Saz Tam, which is mentioned in the underground alchemist's lab as, like, you know, being a terrible person.
The apothecaries, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The apothecary, thank you. And also, if you saw the new D&D movie, he's in that. And so I think that's just a little interesting note. But since being resurrected, Bane has worked to reestablish his power and followers along with his old alliances. And then the last interesting thing I saw about him was that, one, he escaped the spell plague, really wasn't affected by it. But he conquered the goblinoid pantheon, so Maglubiet and Hrugek, which I think is really interesting because, like, we know that the goblins have since, at least in Baldur's Gate 3, have shunned
They follow him, yeah.
Maglubiet and followed the Absolute now, so maybe Bane's got something to do with that.
Sounds like it.
Well, considering
And
that
that's
all
all I
three
have
of
for him.
them are, considering that all three of them are together in the Absolute plot, it absolutely makes sense that the goblins would be following them now.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Alright, next I have Merkel, and a little bit of his stuff was gone over, but much like what Lena said earlier in part of her stuff about Jurgle, the Dead Three, who at the time were known as the Dark Three, had traveled to the Grey Wastes and the Castle of Bone in order to gain their abilities from Jurgle. Merkel was the second person to win at the Game of Knucklebones, and he took on the domain of the dead, telling Bane basically that I won because by doing so I win, because everybody eventually dies, and that includes anybody that Bane has under him. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, all things must die, even the gods. So I will always be the winner. His original name in life was Merkel Bey Al Kurasai, and he was a wizard. Now he is known as the Lord of Bones, or the Lord of the Dead. Sometimes Merkel would show up by fresh graves and look around, just to scare people before disappearing again, reminding them that he's always near. Basically, he's a troll. And during the time of troubles, much like Bane and Ball, he was also killed, but he was killed by Midnight, the mage who was mentioned earlier, who would later become New Mistra. Merkel serves Kelemvor, where Jurgle used to, even though they are diametrically opposed. Unfortunately, most of my other stuff has already been gone over for him, so
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
no, that's perfectly fine. We can talk about it more during the conversation part.
Okay. So I was the one, a little insight here. I was the one who told everyone not to go too much in depth about all these gods, and I feel like I have the most of all. I apologize for that. So for Ball, I have quite a bit. So I guess grab a snack, lean back. If you guys want to go and get it to you while I talk, you know. It's not gonna be that long, I think, but you know, it's a lot of information. But yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. So, Ball is one of the members of the Dead Three, along with Merkel and Bane, as we already heard. He is the god of murder, and his followers are often assassins or killers who engage in their dark deeds for personal gain and pleasure. Ball believes that killing is a natural and necessary part of life, and his worshippers believe that they are doing his work when they take the lives of others. He is a quasi-deity, meaning his power level is the lowest rank compared to other gods. Ball was a cruel, violent, and hateful being who lived to hunt and kill, with his behavior ranging from cold and calculating ruthlessness to a savage thirst for blood. He was driven by a desire for death and destruction. A wholly evil, debased, and sadistic god, Ball was reviled by a majority of the pantheon. His divine foes included Chontea, Helm, Ilmanta, Lathander, Illyra, and Tyr. Ball was served by the goddesses Taluna and Loviata, and he in turn served Bane. Ball had three avatar forms: the Slayer, the Revenger, and Khazgoroth. The Slayer was a male, humanoid corpse with a feral face and irony skin, inset with a black Inca? The Revenger was a 30-feet monster with a flowing beard and mane, 7 feet, horns, which are like 2.1 meters, and eyes full of Gehenna flames. The Khazgoroth form was a shape-shifting monstrosity. Ballspawn's children could turn into creatures said to be one of the listed avatars after Ball himself died, but these incarnations were even more monstrous and inhumane in shape. And I will talk about the Ballspawn in a little bit. But yeah, as we already talked about the Knuckle game, Ball chose the divine province of death after he was, I think, he came last. But in his godhood, Ball's reign of terror in the Moonshae Isles in the year of Bloodbird in 1346 DR, which is an example of his cruelty and malice. Bald's shape-shifting avatar Khazgoroth attempted to combine the Furbolgs and Northmen into a conquering army set on destroying all the realms in the folk. After Khazgoroth was slain, Ball sought to personally revenge and corrupt the Moonshade Isles. He corrupted the Moon Well into a Dark Well and formed an alliance with the Thaian wizard Sindre and the court of High King Reginald Carathal, and raised an army of Sahugin and undead through the Sahugin priestess Isala. Baal used the Darkwell to summon forth the children of Baal, an army of deadly creatures that were sent to destroy the Earth Mother and seize the Moonshade Isles and as his personal domain. The Darkwell corrupted and killed anyone who came near it. Baal's army of undead Sahugin, Furbolgs, Ogre mercenaries, and children of Baal led to proxies wreaked havoc across the Isles until they were defeated by the folk, united by the newly crowned king of the Isles, Tristan Kendrick. Finally, the Darkwell was corrupted enough to open a portal to his own realm, and Baal sent forth his avatar, the Revenger, fueled by much of his divine power. But it was ultimately slain by Tristan using the sword of Simrich Hugh. Defeated and greatly weakened, Baal was banished from the Moonshine Isles and even temporarily exiled from Toril. In the Forgotten Realms setting, Baal was killed during the Time of Troubles, a period of upheaval and chaos when the gods were forced to walk the earth in mortal form, as we already heard. On Elaine 16 in the Year of Shadows, 1350 ADR, having lost his powers and being forced to walk Faerun like the rest of the gods, Baal was slain by the upstead mortal Cyric, using the avatar of Mask, a sword named Godsbane. In doing this, Cyric stole Bane's divinity and portfolio elements. However, much like Merkel, who invested his divine essence in the artifact known as the Crown of Horns, Baal was not utterly removed from Faerun. Part of his divinity remained in the Winter Water around Boroskir Bridge, where he was slain, his blood having flowed into the river. More importantly, Baal foresaw his death and impregnated many mortal women, creating his heirs, the Baalspawn. The Baalspawn were involved in a series of conflicts along the Sword Coast, with one standing above the others and ultimately foiling Baal's plan to return through his children. After the death of the Lord of Murder, the city-dwelling Baalists quickly converted to the worship of Cyric, whom they referred to as Cyric Baal. The rural priests maintained their faith for years to come, claiming they continued to receive their divine powers following their nightly prayers. The schism between Baal's remaining followers and the emerging Cyric Baalists reached its apex in the Year of Shield 1367 DR, getting to the point where the factions would ambush and assault one another. Soon later, the remaining worshippers of Baal stopped receiving their divine powers and began gradually converting to Syrism and Xvimism. Baal is often depicted as a tall, muscular man with dark hair and eyes. He is a god of death, but unlike other deities associated with death, he is not interested in the afterlife or the souls of the dead. Instead, Baal is interested in the act of killing itself. His followers believe that killing is a way to gain power and influence in the world, and they often perform sacrifices in Baal's name to show their devotion to him. Baal's worshippers are also known for their ruthlessness and willingness to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. They can be compelling villains in campaigns, offering quests to rewards to characters who carry out their dark deeds. But they can also be allies, offering characters who specialize in assassination or murder power in influence in exchange for their loyalty. The clergy of Baal in Faerun were known as Baalists or Balin. They were a disorderly network of local hierarchies, with urban and rural branches maintaining distant relations. They believed that murder was both a duty to their god and a game for their enjoyment, and each cleric was expected to perform at least one murder every 10 days. Baal had many cultist groups, including the Deathstalkers of Baal, who attempted to bring him back to life. However, his essence was preserved in his half-mortal children, the Baalspawn, and after the death of the last two, he was revived. The Baalspawn were initially normal members of their race, but part of their souls were divine, and this would eventually reveal them, sometimes granting supernatural powers of different kinds, but usually also tempting them to evil and murder. Individuals' reactions were varied, with some failing to the temptation of power and embarking their darker sides in a quest for divinity. Other Baalspawn, such as Balthazar and Abdel Adrian, conquered their darker nature and acted selflessly, turning their divine power into something unlike its original nature. Finally, some Baalspawn hadn't even had to deal with their inner taint before being found out and being persecuted or taken advantage of. The prophecy predicted that Baal's children should be not only of all races but also of all alignments. If Baal's plan had gone as they were meant to, the Baalspawn would have destroyed each other until none remained, at which point the essence of Baal scattered among them would have accumulated, and his chosen follower Emelisan would have performed rituals that would have brought him back. The last known Baalspawn, Abdel Adrian, resisted the murderous impulses caused by his lineage and became a famed and beloved figure in the city of Baldurs Gate. In the year of the Narthax murders in 1482 DR, Vikang, another Baalspawn who was thought to be dead, attacked Adrian as he spoke to a crowd in the portion of town known as the White. The victor transformed into a massive blood-soaked creature and began a rampage that was only stopped when a group of adventurers new to Baldur's Gate defeated and killed the monstrosity. With all Baal's children dead, all of Baal's essence was freed, allowing for his resurrection. Baal was revived and reclaimed the murder domain from Cyric, but he was no longer a true deity and was instead a being of quasi-divine status. In 1492 DR, the city of Baldur's Gate saw a spate of murders by cultists of the Dead Three. However, since Baal has been resurrected, his power is greatly diminished. Despite this, Baal remains a powerful figure in the world of Dungeons & Dragons, and his followers continue to carry out his dark work. Baal can be a powerful and dangerous enemy, but he can also be a compelling patron for characters who are willing to do his bidding. And that's all I have for Baal, which that's a lot. But now we're gonna go over to the pod where we talk about Baldur's Gate 3, because right now we have mostly just presented you the information about the gods and who they are and everything. But yeah.
And who you currently have access to on the clerical list.
Exactly. Because we don't know if there are gonna be more gods added to the list. Maybe, maybe not.
There will be more gods.
Oh god.
There absolutely will be more gods. The normal pantheon has just over 40.
Yep.
Ooh, and now
like
we have...
when I wrote a campaign and I looked at it and I was like, well, time to pick and choose like 12 gods. So that way my brand new players aren't overwhelmed, because like there is just so much to it.
Yeah. I mean, as we saw, there's so much information when we researched everything. And
that doesn't even cover the fact that there are multi-realm gods that go over multiple realms.
Yeah. We're just talking about Faerun, Toril.
Yeah, specifically what was on the list.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, but what do we think? I mean, we have some mentions already, and we know about Shah. We know I had to laugh when you, Alice, when you talked about Mistra, and you said now Mistra is kind of like this wizard dude. because she died. And in my head, I was like, did Gale date that wizard dude? Well, I had a
Probably.
goddess in my head.
Yeah, probably. I mean, technically, yes.
Right? That would be so funny.
Midnight is the goddess Mistra, and would be the one that he would have dated.
Yep.
I love that. Okay, I didn't know that. See? Because in my head, I saw a goddess, not a wizard dude named Midnight.
Yep.
Nope.
That would be so funny if that would actually be the case and they would reveal that to us.
And it's like she also happened to kill Myrtle before she became the new Mistra. So hey.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You know, these things happen.
Something else.
Oh.
We lost her. We lost her.
Now you're back. Now you're back.
Am I good? Okay. One thing going further back to Zariel that I wanted to mention is that she is the patron of the companion Karlak.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just wanted to put that in there.
What I find very interesting, and here, spoiler alert, just put your fingers in your ears and say la 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 for like a minute or something. But what I find very interesting is that when you are a paladin, you are able to, when you talk to the paladins of Tyr that we can meet after Karlach tells us about these cultists who are hunting her. And when they tell us that they are paladins of Tyr, which Tyr, as we heard, is protective and very righteous, very justice oriented, you would never think that they're actually evil cultists. But apparently they are not actually paladins of Tyr. They are, well, followers of oh god, what was her name again? I forgot. Zariel. Of Zariel. I don't know if they are actually paladins of Zariel, but
I think they were mercenaries.
Oh,
That were
mercenaries.
pretending to be paladins.
Yeah, they are pretending to be paladins, but they are, I think they're actually following her. Like, they're actually believing in her and what she stands for.
They're trying to hunt down Karlach in order to drag her back to the Blood Wars to fight for Zariel.
Yes, exactly. And that's very interesting, hearing about, you know, Zariel and Tyr, learning about these, well, divine beings. Because Zariel isn't a goddess anymore. Or she wasn't in the first place, but anyhow.
She was an angel, and she became a general for Asmodeus.
Yeah.
There are some spoilers that I could talk about for the Descent into Avernus, but I've decided to omit them because they are very big.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me personally, as like a full noob to Dungeons and Dragons, learning about the gods, especially Shah, I told the others today that I was like, damn. First I was like, you worship who you want to worship, Shadowheart. That is fine. You do you, honey. And I was super neutral towards her. And reading...
But now...
Yeah, reading who Shah actually is, what she stands for, how, like, sadistic she is. I think the word used was also, like, perverse, which I don't know if that was Shah. I think that was Shah. I don't think that was Leviatha. But it being super into, and like, she likes to just play with her worshippers in a way. She likes to take away,
right, which is
goddess
plays
of
with their
loss.
food, you know.
Yeah,
and
it feels like they're just her entertainment, while they also do stuff for her.
That's why previously when we talked about Shadowheart, we had briefly gone over, well, what happens when she completes her mission? Do you think she'll actually get her memories back, or will they like erase it again and just take more from her?
Very true. It does. I mean, why would first I was like, oh yeah, Sha would definitely do that. Sure. But now I don't really see why Sha would give her back her memories if she could just send her
Right.
on another mission. Because apparently
Yeah,
there
just take the
aren't
memories
many
again.
who worship Sha. So it's like, or they die a lot.
Yeah, especially if you consider the beginning cinematics where like they attacked a bunch of mind flayers and then most of them were killed except for Shadowheart, who was thrown into a pod.
Exactly. And if there's only Shadowheart now on her mission, as she told us, why would Sha want to give away this very valuable asset of hers, right?
Yeah.
And reading her personality now, I don't see that happening. Not at all. Like letting Shadowheart go, letting her
and that
free.
sort of lends to the idea that perhaps, much like what she tried to do to Luna and make her a follower of Selûne, who was at the time actually Shar, maybe Shadowheart is actually a Selûnite who was brainwashed, and now Shar is just messing with her because she was a Selûnite.
I love that theory
Same.
so much.
It would also make sense because the way Shadowheart like reacts to the city, the what was it, Moonhaven or something like that? We talked about that
The
in
Blighted
the last
City, yeah, the Blighted
Yeah,
Town.
the Blighted City had I know it had a different name as well, but I don't remember it. But how she reacts to things and she feels like she lived there. Then we can see her like light magic, like in her hand, and like when
Sparks up a little bit. Yeah.
I think it sparks up twice, and when she's near that Selûnite statue, and then another time when she's I think in camp. It just happens. And that would be such a good plot point because how she's bad-mouthing Selûne all the time.
Well, she would, because she doesn't remember.
Yeah, exactly. And if we get her memories back without having to use Sha because of like some sort of crazy thing that might happen with our tadpoles and or we're gonna get mind control stuff or something.
In theory, you could give her memories back with a greater restoration spell, but not knowing that in character, it likely wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Because that takes 600 gold worth of diamond dust, and you're not likely to find that just out and about. You have to go and collect that specifically. So like things like that, you're probably not going to think about just offhandedly.
Yeah. And then I guess we would probably use it more on Astarion, even though he's more than 200 years old, but
Wow.
that wouldn't work on the Astarion at all, though.
I mean, does he really know the time? Wasn't he like locked into some dog place?
He was kept as a vampire for 200 years, but his mind is fine.
Maybe he calculated some years wrong. Who knows?
I mean, I imagine he calculated some years wrong because he's hinted that he's been a vampire for over 200 years, but then he said for almost 200 years. I hadn't seen the sun in almost 200 years, but then I was kept as a vampire spawn for 2 centuries. It's like,
maybe
are
he
you
almost died one time.
for 200 years or almost? Like, come on.
I guess knowing Larian, that almost, I think is very important to note because it's in the beginning, and if we get our hands on a greater restoration spell or something like that, we might be able to make him mortal. Then the question is, does he even want to be mortal?
That's a different spell.
Oh.
That's remove curse or something. Well, remove curse.
No. She's talking about resurrection.
Oh, the true resurrection.
She's talking about true
sorry, yeah.
resurrection. That's a 9th level spell. That's a
Yeah.
$2,500 diamond in order to bring him back to life.
Versus Revivify is only like 300 gold pieces worth of diamonds.
Right, but that's if you've been dead for a minute.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Even then, collecting that many diamonds is going to be a chore.
But maybe, I mean, if we have the Dead 3 on our hands and they have all the powers of death, who knows? If we make
Yeah, but
friends
they
with
still
them.
need to have material components to cast spells, though.
Yeah, I'd have to also want to be friends with them.
Yeah, true. Or you make them. You make them grovel in front of you. We just gotta be scary.
Yeah, let me walk up to Bane and be like, hey, bud, you're gonna do this.
Yeah, just be scary.
Okay.
Do we think that we actually gonna see any gods? Do we think that we will interact with
I
gods?
hope we see Mistra.
Yes. And I hope that
with
she
Gale,
is
and then she dumps him.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
We do get to see Mistra briefly when we do the weave scene. And when Gale holds his hand up and shows us her image in his palm. We do get to see her then.
Well, I'm saying, like, I hope we get to talk to her and she goes, Gale, get a fucking life, and then, you know.
Was she a woman or was it Midnight?
Yes.
I want a mod now like that. If Mistra is actually the goddess Mistra, like, you know, female and all that,
Yes.
I want, please,
Yes.
I want a mod that makes Mistra into Midnight. Because that is just so funny to me.
You know, Gale says he's talking to Mistra and we all think he means Midnight, but what he actually means is like one of the little pieces of her that exploded, you know.
Oh no, he's like in love with a book and he makes out with a book.
He's like, yeah, and it's, yeah.
I can see that
That's
happening
rough.
too. Oh no. He does this, what is it? Oh no. Tramp? Lady and the Tramp? Thing with the spaghetti. With the book.
The spaghetti thing?
Yeah.
The lady is a book. The
Yeah.
lady is a book.
Thing is, in German, the movie is called Susi und Strolch. So I was like, oh, what was her name again? And his name. But it's Lady and Tramp. Or Lady and the Tramp. But what I find very interesting is in the Underdark, we cannot enter the Shah temple yet. Every time I try, I die. I know, I think MMO Girl did it once. Because I know she has a video about ending the early access, going through big gate.
That was before they changed it. That was before they added Grimforge. Basically, what would happen is you would get on the boats and you would go towards the gates that would open to Grimforge, where they had the big statue of Char on the side, and then it would end. And what would happen is you would get a cutscene of Sven, and he would like step on a tadpole, and they were like, "Oh, well, you've come to the end of the current playable portion of the early access game," and so on, so on, so.
I saw that.
So
one
that's
once,
what.
But on the
I
boat.
love
Yeah,
that.
Not on the. Because it was amazing. Because you could actually go through it with Astarion, I think. That was so good. And I'm sorry, we're going off track again, but I miss the scene on the boat where you reminisce about like your romance and all of that and everything you've done. I miss that. I want that back. Just like a little scene where you just are reminiscing about everything.
I'd like to hold hands at that point. That would be nice.
You would want what?
I would want to hold hands.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, get that.
I mean,
not
okay,
safe
maybe
for work hand holding out of here.
Without gloves, yeah.
Whoa.
Though I think at that point the romance is still very lovers-like.
It's very,
right?
very young.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's not really established because he's also not the type to be super
at that
vulnerable.
Point, he's still using you.
He secretly loves us. He's not showing it, but
that's what we want. But yeah.
yes. But yeah, no. I what do we think about that Shar temple? Because I have a feeling there must be something happening in there.
Well, if you look at the more recent cutscenes for things they've given us, it's probably where Ketheric Thorn is going to be and where we deal with him.
Ah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, I
Okay.
thought that would be in Moonrise Towers.
It might be down in the Underdark from like what it looks like. You're still underground in a lot of the video, so it might be in that direction.
Interesting. Okay.
He's the one that took the Dark Justicars of Shar through the Underdark in order to try and get to Moonrise Towers. So like he could be at the very bottom if we go through the Underdark to get there.
Is he also a worshipper of Shah?
He was.
Oh, he was.
But now he wears armor and stuff that depicts the Dead 3 now, if you look at the video.
So he's also with the Absolute now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you go over some of his story, he lost his wife and daughter, and so he was angry, and he took all of that out on Selûne by becoming a Sharan because he was a worshipper of Selûne.
Ah.
And then he swapped it to Shar, and then he went in to Moonrise. And then a bunch of stuff happened with the Absolute, and now he's on the side of the Absolute. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, I agree.
Actually,
We're probably gonna.
I wanted to go over something that you mentioned briefly with Leviatar, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you were talking about 50 Shades of Leviatar,
Oh, yeah.
and our lovely whip master over in the Temple of Selûne. What title, if any, does he have? Because I know he's more than just his name.
I thought so
Is he one
too.
Yeah, I think he's one of the higher level people, I think.
Let me look that up because I thought the same, but I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
Baldurs Gate. Whoops. Gate 3. We're doing it live. What the hell? That's not what I wanted. Thank you. Let me see. Huh. Okay. Let me search for Leviathan then. Do we get any
Titles?
Let me see if I can see his name. Okay, I get ads. Apparently only YouTube videos will show me his name. Blessing. I just know he's called Abdurak.
Yeah.
But I also think he has some other term in his name.
Yeah, I think if you look at him in game, it would be like Abstract the something something something, like the Pain Giver or
That
something along those lines.
would
One of the
make sense.
titles that you had mentioned earlier, the Giver of Pain or something like that.
Yeah. Let me see if I can see if they hover their mouse over him. Because that would be great. But
one of the rare times when you go and fight everybody in the Temple of Selûne, he will also fight against you. You would probably have to like look at him at that time and just view what his full title is, because it might just popped up as Abdrak otherwise.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
If anybody finds out, you can put it in the comment section too.
Yeah, please do, because apparently I can't really find much about it. No, not Neverwinter Nights. What the hell?
No, that's a different
Okay.
game.
I zoned out so fucking hard. What are we trying to figure out?
That's fine.
We're trying to figure out the title of Abjurak, because he's more than just his name.
Abjurak information. Abjurak is a follower of Loviata, goddess of pain. He likes pain, to suffer it and inflict it. Completing. Yeah, we know that. Do we know any more?
We're trying to figure out if he's got a title.
Location, Abjurak dialogue options. Notes and tips. Not really. Abdirak, apparently. I said it wrong.
Abjurak is how we hear him in the game.
Abjurak's mace can be more powerful than you think. Cool. Well, if I can find it, I'm gonna edit that in. I can't find it now.
Okay.
Oh, whoops. Sorry for the podcast viewers. No, okay, there we go. Abjurak. So he just shows up as Abjurak. He does not show up as any particular status.
Higher level.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess he would be.
Like, he'd have to be, right?
I think so, yeah.
To be able to, like, give blessings and things? He'd have to be one of the higher uppers.
Yeah, he must be a priest of some sort.
Because he does have, like, the scratch marks on his face and all over his body from all the whipping and stuff. So, like, something.
Yeah, he's definitely... Yeah, if anybody knows, please let us know. He might be a pain giver. I don't know.
He might be a pain giver, yeah.
That just sounds right in my ear.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
Next time I'm playing, I will look out for that too. Because that is very interesting. But yeah, I think it's very interesting that we have the conflict of Shah and Selûne so much in the foreground. We're starting the game kind of with we don't know it, but we're starting the game with the Shar quest and getting Shadowheart, and then the artifact which Shah wants, which is completely tangled into the whole situation with the Absolute, because
and also with the gift.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everything combines there, and then if Shadowheart is also a Selûnite, that's even more interesting, because then she would be, you know, combining Shar, the Absolute, Selûne, like everyone, the Gith, with the artifact.
But then she would also be doing the opposite, because, like, she's supposed to bring the artifact to the Shar people in Baldur's Gate, but if she does turn out to be a Selûnite, then she's going to keep it away from them, and that's going to cause more conflict.
Exactly. But I think Shah thinks she can never figure it out. I have a feeling that the artifact might be so powerful, it might actually shield us completely from any deities or any gods, and then boom, Shadowheart gets her stuff back. But the artifact has a mind on its own, so it's kind of like a god in its own sense. In a way, it's pretty powerful. So
it definitely has its own will.
So it's like a person. So if we make friends with the artifact, in a way,
but that's the question: how do we make friends with the artifact?
I have no idea.
By just not giving it up? That's the ball we got so far.
I guess when it notices, because it has a will on its own, it has willpower. If it notices we are keeping it safe, And because the artifact, didn't we feel that the artifact didn't want to be found?
Well, the artifact didn't want to be given over to the Kithrak with the Githyanki patrol. It feared them for some reason.
So if we, because we will run into Beretha and all the other Gith again, 100%. If we keep it safe somehow and we will fight for it or something like it, or we will feel its will again and we will do whatever it wants, maybe this way we can build trust and then it will give back to us. In a way.
Maybe. I mean, it does protect us from the voice of the Absolute when we go to the temple for the first time.
Yeah, because it needs
where
us.
It talks about the generals.
Mm-hmm. And it holds on to Shadowheart by itself. It wants to be bound to her.
Unless you happen to go over there first, in which case it binds to you, or you kill her and just take it, or whatever.
Yeah. But I feel like it knows that it needs you for whatever reason. It has like a greater knowing of something.
It just wants to be protected.
I say it probably also needs us because it isn't I mean, it might have a will, but it is an inanimate object.
It has no legs.
Yeah, it's like
get out of things or take it places.
Like a symbiosis? Is that the word?
Well, if it's positive, it's symbiotic, but if this thing is just using us, it's parasitic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I'm using my degree finally.
But it did kind of, it shielded us. We are kind of keeping it safe, kind of gonna, we're taking it around. Whatever, we probably will have more to do with it later.
True, but like we're taking it around by happenstance because we're just trying to fix ourselves.
Yeah, but if it has great knowing, maybe it has some insight that we don't. But I don't know.
But exactly, we don't know because it's just in our pockets.
Yeah,
that's it. We happen to go to a place, and if it helps, cool. But otherwise, it's just there.
Yeah,
we are its legs.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that we will figure that out yet. And it would be... they showed us the power of the artifacts in the early access. I don't know how long Act 1 will be, but in the early access. And I think it will only get more important later on.
Yeah, it will, because the entire point of it is get the box to the players. That is the big thing at the very start of the game that Lorien wanted to push home, is get the box to the players. It is important. Just as important as the tagline for the game, which states that you are in a plot devised by the Dead Three. Yes, they are going to be important. Yes, the box is going to be important.
Yes. 100%. I mean, even if you do not take Shadowheart with you, she's always around you.
Oh no.
She's in the
And if you never try to get her, and if you never pick her up, she just shows up.
Yeah.
And is either let me join you or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Exactly. So she is insanely important, but so is the box, because she will inevitably, show up, and either you kill her and the box goes to you, or, she joins you and the box goes. She stays with her, but it's still now in your party.
Yeah.
So it needs to be there. They made sure of that. That you will not just lose out on the box, because that would probably be game breaking in a way.
It is necessary to the game.
Mm-hmm. And what do we think about the theories of Jurgle? Of like with this being Jurgle?
I think it'd be fun.
Same.
I mean, I like the idea, but I also think that maybe our little skeleton buddy is just an avatar of, or a associate of Jurgle rather than Jurgle.
Could be.
I mean, in before, Skelly Boy is somehow one of the Dead Three anyway.
Oh damn, imagine.
He would be Merkel then. Oh crap.
Yeah, and before it's just Merkel, and he's just really fucking tired, so he's done with being evil, and he's just here to help.
Just like,
I
you
mean,
gotta stay
he does
alive.
look like death. So
I mean, he
that's
looks
funny though.
pretty dead to me.
Merkel takes the same mental state as Durgle did. Just, I'm tired of this job now. Here, I'll give you guys some revivify scrolls. You want some?
He's like, you woke me up from my nap. Ugh.
Just give me money and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, here, give me some coin. I'll cleave your buddy's soul back to his body. Why? Because I can.
But yeah, that's the thing. That's as we mentioned in the game too. That's insane magic. That we can use again and again and again, and it's great how they implemented this feature into the game, because you don't want your companions to die completely, so if you can pay for them, you can just bring them back, which is great.
It's a good money sink.
Yeah. But thinking about what that actually means in that world where when you immerse yourself, it's not for game purposes, but okay, there must be a reason for this Lich King or Lich skeleton thing to be there.
And he does kind of tell us though. He kind of tells us. It's like, he was right. He told me to expect you here.
Yeah.
I have to help you because he told me to. And it's like,
Yeah.
Who? Yes. Yes what? Yes. Oh, okay.
Just yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know that's like someone super probably divine, because they have so much insight, because they were like, oh, you got to be there at this time and you're going to be resurrected and blah 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 blah, and it's going to be there and you have to be at service for them and bring them back to life or whatever, money.
It could be Jurgle or maybe Kalimvor, because they are opposed to the things that like Merkel and the others are doing. And it would make sense since they are in direct opposition. It's like, okay, well, I don't like what he's doing, so I'm going to mess with him by giving these people who appear to be fighting him an edge. I'll give them my skeleton dude, and he'll bring them back to life real cheap. That'll be fun.
That's real cheap. Which would also make sense is if it would be Jurgle, because they came to, get his powers. Yeah. He was like, oh, I'm gonna make sure you're all very comfortable, while Jurgle read, at least to me, as pretty neutral aligned. Yeah. And yeah, they're pretty evil aligned, so maybe he wants to rebalance life, which would be interesting if with this was Jurgle being like, oh, I'm gonna, I had enough about their crap, and I don't know how powerful Jurgle still is. It would make sense if he is like a little, less powerful, that he can still do things.
Yeah,
exactly, because that is still very intense, powerful magic, because like we're kind of immortal if we have just enough money.
There's also, I guess, one thing that I'm thinking of is that like Jurgle technically enabled them to become the gods that they are. If Skelly Boy is Jurgle, do you think he's helping us out of a sense of remorse or regret?
Maybe. Possibly. I thought so too. Yeah. Now he's like, oh, okay. And now I need help because they are more powerful than I am. But
he's like, oh man, I really pooch me them gods.
And I think he's probably working with Kalimvor, and Kalimvor told him to be there and do it, because I think he's like serving Kalimvor as well now. Or was?
Well, he served Kalimvor beforehand, and now Merkel serves under Kalimvor, even though they are opposed.
Okay. But I think so. He probably is like, okay, I did this. I need to, or I want to make it right, but I can't do it myself. So let me just help you, because all I can do for you is just revive you if you give me
Yeah, because like it's
coin.
been 1,000 years of having to deal with the dead three so far, and I think maybe they're sick and tired of them at this point too.
Can't imagine
Yeah.
why.
What all the things they did, especially also with the bolt spawn and all the murder and shit like that.
And you got to learn about the ball spawn from the first 2 games, so that was great.
Yeah. I mean, it is a cool story, you gotta say. And oh my god, when I read, with the oh, there were new heroes in Baldur's Gate and they slain this ball spawn. I was like, that's probably in the games. It sounds like that was probably, I guess, Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah.
See?
And now we get to give it our best try.
Hell yeah. And then hopefully we can actually slay them. Imagine if the dead 3 will be dead. Like, completely dead after this.
Dude, that'd be
nice.
so fucked.
Yeah.
Because after that, because it is, this, whatever happens in Baldur's Gate 3 is actually lore of Baldur's Gate. Of Dungeons and Dragons.
But then again, there's so many different things and outcomes that we can get from Baldur's Gate 3. What specifically do they consider canon? Or is it what everyone overall does becomes canon? Because that's also been a thing that has happened in the past too, with other games.
Might, but maybe there's some inevitable things that will happen. That will always
I could see
happen.
that happening, like there being some like things that like inevitably like this is going to be an outcome in your game no matter what.
Yeah, like you have to kill them because otherwise the world is literally gonna crumble.
Yeah, it's either you kill them or you lose.
Yeah, I guess. Or you're gonna turn into mind flayers.
Well, like, that's the thing. We could just turn into mind flayers anyways. It could be a tragedy story.
Oh, that'd be...
Like, no matter what you do, eventually...
Yeah, but like, I don't really think they're going with that, because that's...
Well, that's the thing. The mind flare plot is the lesser of the things. Like, it's not the real important plot. So finding a cure, though it is important to us as players, the urgency isn't actually on that.
I feel like Tav would beg to differ that having a mind flayer tadpole is a little bit important to them, and getting rid of it is a little bit important to them.
It's player agency, like character agency, but not actual plot agency. Because like every time we go to try to get it removed, we can't for one reason or another. It's like, oh, this is too powerful. I can't deal with that. Oh, here's an ice pick into your brain. Oh, here's something else going on. Here, take this potion. Oops, now the mind flare tadpole's stronger. Haha. Like, nothing works.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be that way until either the end of the game or we all turn into mind flayers because we can't do anything. But we'll do so after doing something super heroic and then get murdered.
Oh my god, imagine. No, I feel like we can remove them. But that's the thing. If the thing is like you have to kill the dead 3 or become a mind flayer, right? That could be.
We have to kill their generals. We have to kill their generals and then through that have the ability to like remove them somehow. But each of the generals is probably going to be in one of each piece of the game, in the first arc, second arc, and third arc.
Yeah.
So, like, no matter what we do, we won't be able to get rid of them until the end. But if we fail, we've seen the potential outcome in the original trailer, where just there are mind flares everywhere, and they're being brought up into a giant nautiloid in the sky.
Oof. Also, my urgency in the game is to kick Hezida's butt.
Romancing Astarion?
Yes.
Romancing Astarion.
Yes. The game is just the Romance Astarion simulator.
Romance simulator.
Yeah.
Yes.
While I'm doing other stuff
Other stuff is secondary.
Yeah, of course.
I agree.
I mean, we all know Eileen is here, you know.
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm enjoying all the lore, everything. I really like the games.
The lore is great.
Astarion.
Where it's like,
Astarion brought me here.
play
Astarion
the
made
game,
me stay.
I read the book or I watch the movie for the plot, and then it's like the plot, and it's just a picture of like a shirt with an attractive man or something. Like that's Lena with this. Lena's like, I play this game for the plot.
Actually,
It's
a
the plot
meme
and
like that.
Astarion.
There's actually
That's
a
my
meme like that.
Astarion. That's my Astarion.
That is the whole plot. Oh my god. Yes, I'm sorry, but I'm most excited to see what happens with Astarion in the game.
Surprising no one.
Yeah. I'm here for all my sips.
There is a reason that Astarion is front and center in the art.
You definitely 100%. Like, okay, hear me out. I said it before. I'm gonna say it again. I know it has nothing to do. My god, my goddess, okay? But Astarion and Shadowheart will have the best romances. The best plot points, the cutest romance, the sweetest stuff. You don't expect them to be actually super softy and sweet. And it's gonna be super romantic and loving and all of that. Mark my words. And it's gonna look maybe like they're gonna betray us, but bam.
Shadowheart's is pretty sweet.
Hers is the purest, the most wholesome
It's
of all.
like, which was like why so many people had a problem with her being so fucking mean. Was because like she was so mean, and then you like romance her, and it's like the sweetest, most dear, innocent like scene ever, and you're like, what fucking juxtaposition?
I hated her when I first started playing. I absolutely hated her because she was such a horrible person, and whatever you did, she was just mean. She was just bitchy and sassy. And I didn't like her at all. And now she's
everyone I know like hated all the companions at the beginning. Now that they're like,
I actually hated Astarion when I first saw him.
Assholes in the beginning.
I mean, absolutely. On the very first release, every single companion was just a dick.
Yeah. Oh my god, I remember. I hate that you can't do that anymore. But with Alfira, when you play the lute, right? There was, you can smash the lute, and there was a time, and I have it recorded, so it's on record. But when you smash the lute, Astarion approved of that. Now he doesn't anymore.
Yeah, what do you mean? You think
I missed the patch where you could farm approval with your companions by petting the dog. Anyway, back to the gods of Faerun.
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah, we never sidetrack at all. Ever. Do we have any other? We know the absolute is probably the Dead 3. We kind of know that. Then they have their chosen ones, which is also probably those are the generals you were talking about we should kill.
Yes, and we have to defeat all of the generals in order to have a chance at removing the tadpole from our brains.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that...
And at that point...
Yeah, sorry.
At that point, like, it also depends how much you've used your illithid powers, because, like, maybe if you've used too much, you just can't get rid of it. And then you're just doomed to become a Mind Flayer anyways.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe we could just tentacle around and then be cool Mind Flayers and play as Mind Flayers. I mean, that would be cool, but though we wouldn't be ourselves anymore.
Somebody's gonna mod it. Somebody is absolutely gonna mod that in to
100%.
play as Mind Flayer.
Oh yeah.
Imagine like a Mind Flayer, but Astarion would still keep his hair.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh, gorgeous. Beautiful. No, but do we think we will see any of the gods we have met yet again? Like Leviatha? Do we think she will play a part?
Will. I think that we will absolutely see at least one or two gods. Because they're not going to stay out of this.
No.
This is important enough that somebody, we don't know who, saved us from cracking our necks after falling out of the Mind Flayer ship. And there have been references to multiple gods since then.
The
either
foreshadowing.
being directly in the game, foreshadowing directly in the game, mentioned in books, mentioned in passing. Like Lolth, you can have a couple different interactions where you can feel Lolth's anger, and she's angry at you for pretending to be her if you're a drow and you're talking to the spiders at Seluna's temple, or if you go into Grimforge and you talk to the spiders who are arguing and they're trying to like talk about Lolth and getting her approval and stuff like that. Like there are references here and there, and sometimes you might draw the ire of a god. So I think we will definitely interact with at least a couple of them over the course of the game.
I think so too. Just always the foreshadowing of Toph saying, "I wonder if the gods are watching me," is very much.
And they absolutely are.
Yeah, and that always stuck out to me.
The gods are lying back on beach chairs with drinks and coconuts.
Yes.
Being like, damn.
They're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie.
And something that Liz had mentioned earlier with Sylvanas is the oak leaf and the acorn, which we see on the chest plate of Halsin.
And most of the other druids, like the ones that try to stop you from going into the grove, they're wearing it too.
Yeah. And the ones at the grove, because it's like the Sylvanas statue that they have there that they're praying to and everything. Yeah.
Oh, also the statues we can find. We can find, we can 100% find in the early access. We have access to the idol of Sylvanas, and we have access to the idol of Shah.
Correct.
So that's very interesting. If we can, also the soul coins, I find that very interesting too, that we can collect those. So I feel like these idols will probably also have somewhat of importancy. Maybe we can...
Well, remember that you can feed the idols to Gale because he wants you to like steal the idol of Sylvanas so you can drain its power and stuff like that. And the soul coins are like a holdover from Descent into Avernus, where they're used as fuel for vehicles in the Hells.
Yeah, and I mean, we do interact with a devil, so who knows? Maybe we can...
we deal with a Cambion.
Cambion. But we might deal with Zariel as well. Who knows?
Maybe.
Or maybe we need to go into the Hells.
I think we might go into the Hells again, honestly. And maybe if we have enough soul coins, we can, like, I don't know, purchase something. Maybe we can, like, buy the freedom of Karlach, or buy the freedom of Astarion or something if his stuff is further infernal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a few things that could happen.
Yeah, I just noticing them. I feel like there's also definitely something.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely stuff. Cool.
But yeah, do we have any more god-related stuff? Do you guys have a favorite god? I know, Liss does.
Ilmater, and then I'm also a really big fan of like Pelor, and I have a light cleric for Lathander. Not that I play a lot of clerics or anything. Anyway, but I have a cleric of Pelor who I really like. She's a grave cleric. Pelor is pretty cool. I have a light cleric for Lathander, also pretty cool. But like Ilmater is my boy. My spiritual weapon for my cleric in that was just a hand, and it would just bitch slap people. Good spell. I love that. Good spell.
I like the Raven Queen, and I also had a grave cleric. And he was the bestest of boys. He would not let anybody die, regardless of whether they wanted to or not. So,
in true grave cleric fashion, you love to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know much about them, but what I've read, I kind of like Lathander, honestly. And I have to say the chaos in me really likes Loth Sworn Drows. It's fun in game to play a Loth Sworn cleric, just being evil and causing chaos. Especially when you romance a Astarion, it's fun.
I actually have been thinking that maybe my first playthrough will be evil, and I might be an evil cleric.
Oh my god, I couldn't do it.
It's fun.
That's the thing. That's why nobody else is gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Like, I know people who are gonna play, like, evil playthroughs. My problem is they'll be like, be mean to this NPC, and I'll be, like, crying, being like, you can do it, Liz, just hit the mean button, it's okay.
When I do say these things, like, in my playthroughs, when I play evil playthroughs, I'm always like, oh my god, this is awful. But funny at the same time.
It's the whole being mean is not nice thing. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. When I try to play games evil aligned, like Fable, for example, I was never able to do it.
Yeah.
I always go for the nice thing and being good and stuff like that. When I played that on stream, evil, like, it's so awful but so funny at the same time. Especially when you have, like, other people react to you or react with you. That's so funny for content-wise, but otherwise, oh my god. I couldn't just sit down, enjoy myself, and just do evil deeds in games. That wouldn't be enjoyable. But for content-wise, perfection.
I know that it's going to be that much different from a good playthrough because there are just so many different options that you're never going to run into otherwise. Like,
yeah,
I know that I can go with the Drider that is the servant of Minthara. I know I can go with them through the Risen Road or through the Underdark with the little lunar thing that we have to go collect. And I can just walk with him and the orcs or the half-orcs, whatever they have with them. And that's going to be an experience that is different from anyone playing a good style, where they have to, like, maybe kill that creature or try to get pixie dust for the other lantern and go through the Underdark or whatever. The experience is going to be so vastly different that I want to try and experience that first.
Plus, Astarion's dialogue during the Goblin Party. Just
Super
saying.
evil Astarion is equally as hot.
I know. Oh my god. Well,
and with all the extra bodies, he's extra horny.
all the extra blood lying around.
Yeah.
Oh god. I think it was when you're playing evil and you have all the talk to him and stuff like that, and then you talk to him again, and instead of him saying "Iga, aren't you? We're gonna have to wait," he says something else, which blew, like, my breath away, and I was speechless, and I was squeaking. I don't remember what he said, but oh my god, that was insane. So yeah, evil Astarion, damn. But good Astarion, if you get him to be good, damn.
Cinnamon roll.
He's
Absolute
real good,
cinnamon
you
roll.
know?
Yeah, I can see him being good, honestly. I feel like he is neutral. Chaotic neutral.
Yeah, he's definitely
is what I think
neutral.
he is.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also a little chaotic gremlin. So,
yeah, 100%. You know. Yep. But whatever he finds funny, right? But if you can make him find other things funny or get his entertainment otherwise, you know, then he's good. But yeah.
He is a ball of confusion because he's like, don't tell anyone anything, but then looks at Ethel and is like, hey, tell her everything.
Yes.
So, like, make up your mind.
Chaos.
Do you want to tell people nothing or everything?
Everything. Only when it's fun. But yeah, I think that might conclude this episode.
Oh, it needs to. I have to leave.
Okay. Yep.
I have choir practice in 20 minutes.
Oh God. Okay. Good. But yeah.
And I forgot about until right now.
No, that's completely fine.
girl.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really liked learning about the gods. I hope you guys did too. And again, thank you so much for watching, listening, being here with us. Don't forget to subscribe because, again, we do post these once a month and it's not on a set day. It's just when I have them done, when we record it, when, the edit is done and everything. So keep an eye out. Also follow Liz on Twitch and Mizu on Twitter. We also Twitter out when the new episode is out. I also try to notify you everywhere, so if you want to get notified for a new episode, you can also join the Discord. You can do so by going to my channel page, and it's linked in the banner. But yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, I think that's it. So until the next one, bye bye.